My name is Sarah Chen, and at 31 years old, I never imagined that catering my father's corporate gala would become the night everything changed between us. For 6 years, he dismissed my catering business with that particular laugh that made it clear he considered my work insignificant. "Sarah's just a caterer," he would say, as though I arranged balloons and ordered pizza instead of running a multi-million-dollar food service company. But that evening, when a celebrity chef recognized my name and revealed something I had kept secret, when cameras started rolling and the truth came out on national television, the look on my father's face was something I will never forget. If you are watching this video right now, I would love to know where you are from. Drop it in the comment section below. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about family relationships that take unexpected turns when the underestimated finally prove their worth. My father, David Chen, built his success story on determination and sacrifice. At 59, he was the CEO of TechVista Solutions, a software company he founded 23 years ago that now employed over 300 people and generated $50 million in annual revenue. His parents had immigrated from Taiwan with almost nothing. They worked in restaurants, his father as a dishwasher and his mother doing prep work, saving every dollar so their children could have better opportunities. My father put himself through MIT, earned his MBA from Stanford, and built TechVista from a garage startup into a major player in enterprise software solutions. He measured success in very specific terms: corporate achievement, financial security, prestigious titles. The immigrant dream realized through education and business. His office walls displayed framed awards, newspaper articles about TechVista's growth, and photos with tech industry leaders and politicians. Everything in his life was carefully curated to demonstrate that he had transcended his parents' working-class struggles. I was 24 when my mother, Linda, died from breast cancer. She had been an architect who designed sustainable community spaces, someone who valued creativity and purpose over profit margins. Where my father saw the world in spreadsheets and market share, my mother saw it in beauty and human connection. Their marriage worked because she softened his edges and he grounded her idealism. She understood why I wanted to work with food, why creating experiences through cuisine felt meaningful to me. Her death devastated us both, but it also removed the bridge between my father's worldview and mine. Without her gentle translation, we couldn't understand each other anymore. I had graduated from the Culinary Institute of America 2 years before my mother's diagnosis. While she underwent treatment, I worked as a sous chef at a high-end restaurant in San Francisco, learning the brutal pace of professional kitchens and the precision required for fine dining. My father tolerated this because my mother supported it. After she died, his tolerance evaporated. "You have a degree from CIA," he said during one tense dinner 6 months after her funeral. "You could leverage that into restaurant management, corporate food services, something with a real career trajectory. Instead, you're working 80-hour weeks for someone else's vision." "I'm learning the business, Dad." "You started in someone's garage before starting TechVista. That's different." "I was building towards something." "You're just cooking." "Just cooking." Those words stung, but they also planted a seed. If he thought cooking was all I could do, I would show him what building something actually looked like. 6 years ago, I took $15,000 from my savings and a small loan to start Ember and Sage Catering. The name came from my mother, actually. She used to say that the best meals balanced elements like a well-designed building, the warmth of ember and the clarity of sage, comfort and sharpness in perfect proportion. I started alone, catering small events out of a rented commercial kitchen space. Birthday parties, corporate lunches, intimate weddings. I worked 16-hour days, handled every aspect myself from menu development to delivery to cleanup. That first year, I barely broke even. My father called it Sarah's cooking phase and regularly sent me job postings for management positions at tech companies. But I wasn't playing. I was building. By year 2, I had hired 3 staff members and secured several regular corporate clients. Year 3 brought a commercial kitchen lease and a team of 8. I won Best New Catering Company from the Regional Restaurant Association. My father congratulated me politely and changed the subject. By year 4, Ember and Sage was catering high-profile events, gallery openings, charity galas, executive retreats. I had developed a reputation for innovative menus that balanced artistic presentation with impeccable flavor. My signature style combined classical French technique with California seasonality and subtle Asian influences. Food critics started mentioning us in reviews. We were booked solid 6 months in advance. Year 5 brought expansion to a larger commissary kitchen and a staff of 15. Our revenue hit $1.5 million. I was managing complex operations, purchasing and inventory, staff scheduling and training, menu development and testing, client relations, marketing, accounting. I was running a business, not just cooking food. But my father never asked about any of it. Now, in year 6, Ember and Sage employed 20 people, generated nearly $2 million in annual revenue, and had won multiple industry awards. We catered for tech companies, law firms, celebrities, and politicians. Our smallest events served 50 people. Our largest had served over 800. I had built exactly the kind of success my father claimed to value, from nothing to thriving business through hard work and vision. He still introduced me as my daughter who caters, with that slight laugh that communicated embarrassment. My business partner and best friend, Jasmine Torres, had joined me 3 years ago. She handled operations and client relations while I focused on culinary development and kitchen management. Jasmine was a former event planner who understood both the creative and logistical sides of our business. She was also the person who kept me sane when my father's dismissals cut too deep. He's incapable of seeing outside his narrow definition of success, she would remind me. That's his limitation, not your failure. My father's girlfriend, Monica Sterling, was 45 and the CFO of a pharmaceutical company. She had entered his life 2 years ago, a fellow corporate executive who spoke his language of quarterly earnings and market positioning. She was polished, intelligent, and utterly conventional in her worldview. At our few uncomfortable dinners together, she had made it clear she found my career choice baffling. Catering is so uncertain, she had said once, swirling her wine. No benefits, no stability. Don't you worry about your future? I have benefits for my entire team, I had replied evenly. And we're growing 30% year over year. I'm very secure in my future. She had smiled that smile people use when they're being polite but don't actually believe you. When the invitation arrived for my father's annual charity gala, a black tie event for his tech foundation that provided STEM education funding, I almost declined. These events were showcases for his world, full of venture capitalists and tech executives and politicians. I didn't belong there, and he made sure everyone knew it. But then his assistant called my business line. Ember and Sage Catering? This is Rebecca from Tech Vista Foundation. We're looking for catering proposals for our annual gala. 500 guests, upscale venue, budget up to $100,000. Can you provide a quote? She didn't know I was David Chen's daughter. She had found us through our reputation. Jasmine and I looked at each other across our kitchen office, the same thought occurring to both of us simultaneously. This was an opportunity to cater one of the region's most prestigious events. It was also an opportunity to show my father exactly what I had built. Send us the details, I told Rebecca. We'll have a comprehensive proposal to you within 3 days. We put together our most ambitious proposal. A multi-course menu showcasing seasonal ingredients and technical skill. Stations featuring live cooking demonstrations. Custom cocktails and wine pairings. A team of 30 staff members including chefs, servers, and coordinators. The total quote came to $85,000, fair for the scope and our market rates. I hand-delivered the proposal to Tech Vista's offices. My father's assistant accepted it professionally, clearly not making the connection between the CEO's daughter and the catering company's owner. 2 hours later, my father called my cell phone. Sarah, what is this? Rebecca just showed me a proposal from your company. It's a catering proposal for your gala. Your assistant contacted us. She didn't know you were my daughter. The quote is $85,000. That's our rate for an event this size and complexity. It's actually below what we'd normally charge for 500 guests with this level of service. Sarah, come on. You can't expect me to pay you $85,000. You're my daughter. Can't you do this as a favor? Or at least give me a family discount? My jaw tightened. Dad, this is my business. We have costs, ingredients, staff wages, equipment rentals, insurance. This isn't a hobby. We can't operate below cost. It's just cooking food, Sarah. Don't be dramatic. Just cooking food. There it was again. The fundamental dismissal of everything I had built. If you don't want to hire us, that's fine. I'm sure Rebecca has other proposals to review. But I won't undervalue my company's work, even for you. He sighed heavily. Fine. I'll tell Rebecca to book you. But this seems excessive for what is essentially a dinner party. A dinner party. 500 guests at a black tie gala with multiple courses and complex logistics. A dinner party. After we hung up, I sat in my car in Tech Vista's parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel. Jasmine texted, "Did he go for it?" "Yes." After telling me it's excessive for a dinner party, her response was immediate. "We're going to execute this so flawlessly he'll have to acknowledge what you've built. Let's show him what a dinner party looks like." Incident 1, the contract negotiation. Rebecca scheduled a planning meeting 3 weeks before the gala. The Tech Vista Foundation event committee would review our proposal and finalize details. I prepared meticulously, creating a presentation deck that outlined every aspect of our service plan. Jasmine and I arrived at Tech Vista's conference room 15 minutes early. The space was all glass and modern furniture, with views of the city skyline. Slowly, committee members filtered in: Rebecca, the foundation's program director, several board members, and my father with Monica. My father's face registered surprise when he saw me. "I didn't realize you'd be presenting yourself. I'm the owner and head chef. I always present for major events." Monica settled into a chair beside him. "This should be interesting." I ignored the condescension and launched into our presentation. Jasmine and I had rehearsed until it was seamless. I walked through the menu, explaining ingredient sourcing and preparation methods. Jasmine covered logistics, staffing, and timeline. We addressed dietary restrictions, service flow, and backup plans. Our presentation was professional, detailed, and comprehensive. The committee asked thoughtful questions. How would we handle the volume of guests during cocktail hour? What was our contingency plan for the outdoor space if weather became an issue? How did we ensure food safety at this scale? I answered each question with the confidence of someone who had executed hundreds of events. This was my expertise, my domain. Then my father spoke up. "I'm sure Sarah's little cooking hobby has prepared her for this." The room went silent. Hobby. He had called my business a hobby in front of his board. "Dad, Ember and Sage is a $2 million company with 20 employees. It's not a hobby." Of course. He waved his hand dismissively. "I just mean, this is a big event. Are you sure you can handle it?" Rebecca, bless her, intervened. "Mr. Chen, we reviewed multiple proposals. Ember and Sage had the most impressive credentials and references. They cater regularly for events this size. Where did you go to cooking school again?" Monica asked, her tone suggesting she already knew the answer would be unimpressive. "The Culinary Institute of America," I replied. "I graduated with honors." "And then you worked at a restaurant? Before starting your business?" "I worked as sous chef at Lumiere in San Francisco for 3 years. Then I started Ember and Sage." One of the board members, a woman named Patricia who was a VP at another tech company, leaned forward with genuine interest. "I've heard of Lumiere. Michelin-starred, right?" "Yes. 2 stars. That's impressive. And your catering company has won awards?" 3 regional awards, including Best Catering Service last year. We've also been featured in several food and lifestyle publications. Patricia nodded approvingly. My father looked uncomfortable with the positive attention. The meeting concluded with the committee approving our proposal. Rebecca would send the contract by end of week. As everyone filed out, Patricia approached me. "That was an excellent presentation. I'm planning my company's retreat next quarter. I'd love to get a proposal from you." I handed her my card, genuinely pleased. "I'd be happy to discuss it with you." After she left, my father pulled me aside in the hallway. Monica waited by the elevator, checking her phone. "Sarah, you made me look foolish in there." "How?" "By being professional?" "By correcting me in front of my board." Elevator, checking her phone. "Sarah, you made me look foolish in there." "How?" "By being professional?" "By correcting me in front of my board. This is my event, my foundation. And you hired my company to cater it. When we're working, I'm not your daughter. I'm the vendor you contracted. You can't undermine me in client meetings and expect me to maintain credibility." His jaw tightened. "Don't forget who's paying you. You're paying market rate for professional service. That's a business transaction, not a favor." We stared at each other, years of tension crackling between us. Finally, he turned toward Monica. "We should go. I have calls to make." Jasmine had witnessed the exchange from a distance. As we rode the elevator down, she shook her head. "He really can't help himself, can he?" "No. But we're going to execute this event so perfectly that it won't matter what he thinks. Our work will speak for itself." Incident 2, Family Dinner Confrontation. 2 weeks before the gala, my father invited me to dinner. Just the three of us, he said over the phone. You, me, and Monica. We should catch up. I knew immediately it wasn't a casual dinner. My father didn't do casual. This was a setup. We met at Riverside, an upscale steakhouse my father frequented. He and Monica were already seated when I arrived, glasses of wine in hand. They had been talking, probably strategizing. Sarah, glad you could make it. My father stood to kiss my cheek, the gesture more performative than warm. Thanks for inviting me. Monica smiled coolly. We've been looking forward to this. The first 20 minutes covered safe topics, weather, local news, innocuous work updates. Then my father set down his fork and fixed me with that serious expression I had learned to dread. Sarah, we wanted to talk to you about your future. My future is fine, Dad. You're 31 years old. Don't you think it's time to consider long-term stability? I have long-term stability. My business is thriving. Monica leaned in, her voice honey-sweet with condescension. But catering is so unpredictable, Sarah. What happens if trends change? If another company undercuts your prices? You're one bad quarter away from losing everything. That's true of any business, I replied evenly. Including tech companies. My father shook his head. It's different. I have infrastructure, contracts, recurring revenue streams. You're dependent on individual events. It's not sustainable. We have recurring corporate clients. We're booked solid 6 months out. Last year we grew 30%. This year we're on track for 40% growth. Still, Monica said, there's no retirement plan, no career trajectory beyond just doing more events. Actually, I've been expanding. We're looking at a second kitchen location and potentially opening a small restaurant. My father's expression darkened. Sarah, that's exactly what concerns me. You're doubling down on this cooking thing instead of building something real. Something real? Dad, I employ 20 people. I provide health insurance and competitive wages. I pay taxes and rent and expenses. I have profit margins and growth targets. What part of that isn't real? You know what I mean. You could come work for Tech Vista. I'd create a position for you, operations management, something that uses your organizational skills in a legitimate business context. The implication hung heavy, my business wasn't legitimate. I don't want to work for Tech Vista. I built Ember and Sage from nothing. I love what I do. Why can't you respect that? Monica jumped in. I think what your father is trying to say is that he wants security for you. I understand the appeal of following your passion, I really do. But I followed mine into corporate finance, and now I have a 401k, stock options, and a clear path to executive leadership. That's security. Good for you, I said, my voice sharper than intended. But I didn't ask for career advice. My father slammed his hand on the table, drawing looks from nearby diners. Why are you so stubborn about this? Your mother would have wanted you to be practical. The mention of my mother felt like a slap. Mom supported my culinary career. She was proud of me. She was sick. She wasn't thinking clearly about your future. I felt tears threaten but refused to let them fall. Don't use her illness to rewrite history. Mom understood me better than you ever have. Sarah. No. I'm done with this conversation. You invited me here to ambush me, to tell me my life's work isn't good enough. Well, I'm not selling my business. I'm not joining Tech Vista. I'm going to continue building Ember and Sage, with or without your approval. I stood, dropping my napkin on the table. And for the record, anyone can build a company, Dad. Not everyone can create food that makes people remember a moment for the rest of their lives. Maybe that's not valuable to you, but it's valuable to me. I left the restaurant before either of them could respond. In my car, I finally let the tears come. Jasmine's voice echoed in my mind, his limitation, not your failure. But it didn't feel that way. It felt like failing to be enough. Incident 3, Gala Setup Day. The day of the gala arrived with perfect weather, clear skies and mild temperature. Our team arrived at the venue at 10 in the morning for a setup that would take 7 hours. The event space was a converted historic building with soaring ceilings and elegant architecture. We would serve cocktails and passed appetizers in the main hall, followed by a seated dinner in the adjoining ballroom. My team moved with practiced efficiency. Sous chefs prepped ingredients in the venue kitchen. Servers set tables according to our detailed diagrams. Bartenders arranged supplies at 3 bar stations. Jasmine coordinated with venue staff on timing and logistics. I moved between stations, checking quality and troubleshooting issues. Around 2 o'clock, my father arrived with Monica and several board members for a venue walkthrough. I was in the main hall discussing appetizer presentation with my lead server when I heard his voice. "This all looks lovely. Sarah's doing the food, you know. My daughter." I turned to see him gesturing toward the kitchen area where my team worked. "Your daughter owns the catering company?" One board member, an older man named Frank, looked surprised. "Yes, Sarah started this little business a few years ago. At least she's working." He laughed, that particular laugh that suggested working was better than nothing but still not quite respectable. The group chuckled politely, uncomfortable with the dynamic they were witnessing. I approached, maintaining professional composure. "Dad, we're in the middle of setup. Did you need something?" "Just showing the board the space." "Everything on track?" "Everything is perfect. We'll be ready for guests at 6. Monica surveyed the room with a critical eye. "It's quite ambitious, all these food stations and courses. Are you sure you're not overextending?" "We've executed events twice this size," I replied calmly. "This is well within our capacity." "If you say so." Her tone suggested she didn't believe me. My father didn't introduce me to the board members properly. Didn't mention my role as owner and chef. Didn't acknowledge Ember and Sage by name. Just "Sarah's doing the food." As they moved toward the ballroom, I heard Frank say, "I didn't know your daughter worked in catering." "Yes, well," my father replied, "she decided to go a different route. I keep hoping she'll come to her senses, but you know how kids are. Stubborn." Patricia, the tech VP who had asked for a proposal after our planning meeting, was also in the group. She glanced back at me with what looked like sympathy. After they left, my sous chef, Marcus, approached me. "Did your dad just call your company a little business? He doesn't understand what we do." $2 million and 20 employees isn't little, Marcus said, shaking his head. "My mom runs a boutique shop. That's a little business. This is a real operation." "I know. But some people can't see past their own definitions of success." We returned to work. I had a gala to execute flawlessly, regardless of my father's dismissals. Incident 4, the breaking point. By 5:30, everything was ready. The main hall looked spectacular. Food stations gleamed with polished equipment. Past appetizers were arranged on trays. The bar sparkled with glassware and bottles. In the ballroom, tables were set with precision, linens crisp, silverware aligned, centerpieces elegant. My team gathered for the pre-service meeting. I reviewed timing, answered questions, and reminded everyone of our standards. We were professionals. This was what we did. Guests would arrive at 6. Service would begin immediately with past appetizers and cocktails. Dinner would start at 7:30. We had this choreographed down to the minute. I changed into my chef's whites, not because I would be visible during service, but because it was my uniform, my armor. Jasmine wore all black, nearly invisible so she could coordinate without drawing attention. At 5:45, I was doing a final kitchen check when I heard voices in the hallway outside. The support of the foundation. "We're funding 20 new scholarships this year." A man's voice responded. "That's wonderful, David. You should be very proud." "Thank you. My only regret is my daughter didn't go into something more substantial. She just caters parties. I keep hoping she'll grow out of it, but at 31, I'm starting to lose hope. Just caters parties. At 31, still hoping I would grow out of it. Maybe marriage will help her settle down, Monica's voice added. Focus her on something serious. My father laughed. One can hope. I stood frozen in the kitchen, a serving platter in my hands. One of my line cooks, Sarah, watched my face change. She had heard it too. "Chef," she asked quietly. I set down the platter carefully, my hands trembling. "Excuse me for a moment." I walked past them in the hallway without acknowledgement and found Jasmine in the ballroom doing a final lighting check. "Jazz, I need a minute." She took one look at my face and steered me into a quiet corner. "What happened?" "I just heard my father tell a donor that I just cater parties. That at 31, he's losing hope I'll grow out of it. That maybe marriage will help me settle into something serious." Jasmine's expression turned furious. "He said that before your event? Before you're about to execute a service for 500 people? It doesn't matter. This is the last time, Jazz. The last time I care about his opinion. The last time I hope he'll finally see me. I'm done." "Good. You should be done. Sarah, you built something remarkable. You employ 20 people. You've won awards. You make profit. You support yourself and others. His inability to see that is his failure. I know. Intellectually, I know. But. No buts. Tonight, we're going to execute this event so perfectly that everyone will talk about it for months. Not for him. For us. For the business. For the team that worked so hard. Agreed? I took a deep breath, pushing down the hurt. Agreed. We returned to the kitchen. My team sensed something had happened, but they knew better than to ask. We had a job to do. At exactly 6 o'clock, the first guests arrived. Service began. The gala unfolded like a carefully orchestrated performance. Guests flowed through the main hall, accepting past appetizers from servers who moved with practiced grace. Seared scallops with cauliflower puree and crispy pancetta. Duck confit spring rolls with tamarind sauce. Beef carpaccio on crostini with truffle aioli. Each bite was calibrated for flavor, temperature, and visual appeal. At the bar stations, specialty cocktails featured house-made syrups and fresh herbs. The whiskey ginger with candied ginger and rosemary was particularly popular. Guests praised the drinks, the food, the presentation. I watched from the kitchen doorway, making minor adjustments as needed. A sauce needed more acid. A garnish wasn't quite right. These tiny calibrations were invisible to guests but crucial to excellence. My father worked the room, networking with the ease of someone who belonged in this world. He introduced Monica to major donors, laughed at the right moments, projected the image of a successful man hosting a successful event. He never once mentioned me or my company. When guests complimented the food, he simply smiled and thanked them. At 7:30, guests moved to the ballroom for dinner. The service flowed seamlessly, first course salad with roasted beets, second course butternut squash soup, main course choice of herb-crusted halibut or red wine braised short ribs, finishing with a trio of desserts. Each course emerged from our kitchen perfectly timed, perfectly plated. Patricia, the tech VP, approached me briefly during the transition between courses. Sarah, this is extraordinary. The flavors, the presentation, the timing. This is the best event food I've ever experienced. Thank you. That means a lot. I'm serious about getting a proposal for our company retreat. This level of quality is rare. After she returned to her table, Jasmine appeared beside me. You okay? I'm fine. Actually, I am fine. Look at this. I gestured toward the ballroom where 500 people were enjoying food my team had created. This is what we built. This matters, whether my father sees it or not. That's right. And speaking of which, Jasmine's eyes widened slightly, looking past me toward the entrance. Is that Marcus Stone? I turned. The celebrity chef Marcus Stone was entering the ballroom, greeted enthusiastically by my father. Stone was a judge on Kitchen Masters, one of the most popular cooking competition shows on television. He was also, apparently, a major donor to my father's foundation. Oh God, I whispered. What? Why oh God? I'll explain later. I need to get back to the kitchen. But I couldn't hide forever. Events like this required the executive chef to be available, to address any issues, to accept compliments. I was the face of Ember and Sage. During the dessert course, Jasmine found me in the kitchen. Marcus Stone is asking for you. He wants to meet the chef. My stomach dropped. Did he say why? Just that the food is exceptional and he wants to meet whoever created it. I removed my apron, checked my reflection in the stainless steel refrigerator door, and followed Jasmine into the ballroom. Marcus Stone stood near the dessert display, examining the trio we had created, lavender panna cotta, dark chocolate torte, and lemon tart with fresh berries. He was tall, in his early 50s, with the confident bearing of someone accustomed to being recognized. Mr. Stone, this is Sarah Chen, owner and head chef of Ember and Sage. He turned, extending his hand with a warm smile. The food tonight has been phenomenal. Who developed these menus? I did, sir. With input from my team. He studied me with sudden intensity. Sarah Chen. Why do I know that name? My heart started racing. I'm not sure. No, I definitely know it. Sarah Chen. He pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly. His eyes widened. You're a finalist on Kitchen Masters. The words hung in the air. Nearby guests had heard. They turned toward us with sudden interest. I'm sorry? Jasmine looked at me, confused. Marcus Stone was grinning now. Sarah Chen from San Francisco. Applied 4 months ago, made it through preliminary rounds, selected as one of 12 finalists for this season. We've been keeping the list confidential until the broadcast, but, he gestured at the dessert in his hand. This level of skill makes sense now. You're competing on my show. More guests had gathered. My father appeared at the edge of the growing crowd, his expression unreadable. "I haven't told anyone," I said quietly. "I wanted to keep it private." "Why?" "This is incredible. How many people apply to Kitchen Masters each year?" "About 10,000, I admitted. "And you made it to the final 12. That's exceptional." He turned to address the growing audience. "For those who don't know, Kitchen Masters is a cooking competition featuring established food industry professionals, not amateur home cooks. We're talking about people with serious credentials competing for $250,000 and a feature spread in Culinary Arts magazine." Patricia called out, "When does it air?" Marcus checked his phone. "Tomorrow night, actually. The finale episode. 3 finalists compete in a live broadcast." He looked back at me. "You're one of the 3 finalists, aren't you?" I nodded slowly. "Yes." The crowd erupted in excited chatter. My father pushed through to the front, Monica beside him. "Sarah, you never mentioned this," he said, his voice strained. "You never asked about my work, Dad." "This is part of my work." A woman I didn't recognize spoke up. "I'm with the Chronicles Lifestyle section. Would you be willing to do a quick interview? This is newsworthy, local chef competing on major cooking show." Before I could decline, Patricia intervened. "Actually, there's a bigger story here. Sarah owns Ember and Sage Catering, the company that produced tonight's exceptional event. She's not just a chef, she's an entrepreneur who built a successful company from scratch." Marcus Stone looked genuinely impressed. "You own this catering company?" "Yes. 6 years ago, I started with $15,000 and a rented kitchen. Now we have 20 employees and we cater events across the region." "How much revenue?" It was my father's voice, asking the one question that mattered to him. $2 million this year. We're on track for 40% growth." He looked stunned. So did Monica. The journalist was taking notes rapidly. "This is exactly the kind of success story we highlight," Patricia said. "Female entrepreneur, young company with impressive growth, operating in a creative field. Sarah, I'd love to feature you in our company's emerging business program." The attention was overwhelming. More guests wanted to ask questions. Marcus Stone wanted to discuss my menu development process. The journalist wanted a full interview. My father stood at the edge, finally seeing what I had been trying to tell him for years. But I didn't feel vindicated. I felt exposed. Jasmine rescued me. "I'm sorry, but Chef Chin needs to oversee the kitchen breakdown. We can arrange interviews for another time." She steered me back toward the kitchen, away from the crowd. Behind us, I heard Marcus Stone tell someone, "Watch the show tomorrow. If she cooks like she catered tonight, she's definitely winning." In the quiet of the kitchen, my team was already breaking down stations and packing equipment. They looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Is it true?" Marcus asked. "You're on Kitchen Masters?" "Yes. I applied months ago. I didn't want to make a big deal about it in case I didn't get far in the competition." "But you made it to the finale," Jasmine said, still processing. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want it to overshadow the business. I didn't want people thinking of Ember and Sage as that catering company from the TV show. I wanted us to be known for our work. And now everyone knows," she said gently. "Yeah. Now everyone knows. Including my father, who had just learned that his daughter, who he thought just catered parties, was competing on national television against the best food professionals in the country. The irony was sharp and bitter. He couldn't see my success until other people validated it. Until a celebrity chef recognized my name. Until guests at his event demanded to know more about my business. I had spent 6 years trying to prove my worth to him. In one evening, Marcus Stone had done what I couldn't. The question was, would it actually change anything between us? The rest of the evening passed in a blur of congratulations and questions. Guests who had barely noticed me earlier now wanted business cards, wanted to discuss their own events, wanted to know about my culinary background. Patricia scheduled a meeting for the following week to discuss her company retreat. 3 other potential clients requested proposals. My father kept his distance, speaking with donors but watching me from across the room. Monica looked unsettled, her earlier condescension replaced by confusion. By 11 o'clock, the gala was winding down. My team had begun the breakdown process, packing equipment, storing leftover food, cleaning the kitchen. Guests lingered in small groups, the event considered a success by any measure. Marcus Stone found me again as I was supervising the final cleanup. "Sarah, I know you're busy, but I meant what I said about tomorrow's broadcast. You should be proud of what you've accomplished, both with this event and in the competition. Thank you. That means a lot, coming from you. Can I ask why you kept it secret? Most people would be shouting from the rooftops about making it to kitchen masters. I glanced toward where my father stood with a group of board members. Complicated family dynamics. My father doesn't take my culinary career seriously. I didn't want to give him another opportunity to dismiss something that mattered to me. Marcus followed my gaze and seemed to understand immediately. The tech CEO is your father? Yes. Ah. I see. He nodded knowingly. I've met a lot of people like him. They measure success in very narrow terms. But Sarah, what you've built here, he gestured around the venue. And making it to the Kitchen Masters finale? That's extraordinary. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, Food Network. I hope you'll watch with people who actually appreciate what you've accomplished. After he left, Jasmine pulled me aside. We need to talk about tomorrow. I know. I should have told you about the show. I'm not mad. I'm just trying to understand the timeline. You applied 4 months ago? Yes. The audition process was intense, video submission, preliminary cooking challenge, interviews. When they selected me as a finalist, I had to sign confidentiality agreements. The producers wanted the final 3 kept secret until the broadcast. And you've been competing while running the business? The actual competition was filmed over 2 weeks in Los Angeles. I told you I was taking a vacation to visit culinary suppliers. I hated lying, but I couldn't risk word getting out. Jasmine shook her head in amazement. So tomorrow night, you're competing on live television for $250,000? And a feature in Culinary Arts magazine, which would be huge for business exposure. Sarah, this is incredible. Why wouldn't you want your father to know? I looked at her directly. Because if I didn't win, I didn't want to hear him say I failed at another cooking thing. And if I did win, I didn't want his pride to be contingent on external validation. I wanted to do this for me, not for his approval. But now he knows. Now he knows. And tomorrow, he'll watch along with everyone else. By midnight, we had completed the breakdown. The venue was restored to its original state, equipment loaded into our trucks, leftover food properly stored or donated. My team was exhausted but satisfied. We had executed flawlessly. As I was walking to my car, my father appeared in the parking lot. Sarah, wait. I stopped but didn't turn around immediately. When I did, his expression was complicated, confused, hurt, perhaps a bit defensive. Why didn't you tell me about the show? Would you have cared? Or would you have called it another cooking hobby? He flinched. I would have been supportive. No, Dad, you wouldn't have. You would have asked when I was going to get serious about my future. You would have sent me more job postings for tech companies. You would have found a way to diminish it. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tonight, you told a donor that I just cater parties. That you're losing hope I'll grow out of it. That maybe marriage will make me settle into something serious. I heard you, Dad. I heard exactly what you think of my work. His face went pale. You heard that? Yes. Right before I executed a flawless event for 500 people. Right before your guests praised the food and the service and asked for my business cards. Right before Marcus Stone revealed that I'm competing against the best food professionals in the country. Sarah, I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You've been dismissing my work for 6 years. The only difference tonight is that other people told you it was valuable, so now you're confused about whether to keep dismissing it or pretend you were supportive all along. He had no response to that. I need to go, I said. I have a big day tomorrow. I drove home in silence, emotionally exhausted. At my apartment, I found multiple texts from Jasmine, from team members, from clients who had been at the gala. Everyone was excited about the show, congratulating me, asking questions. There was also a text from my father, we need to talk. Please call me. I didn't respond. The next day passed in a strange suspended state. Jasmine came over in the morning with coffee and pastries from our favorite bakery. How are you feeling about tonight? She asked as we sat in my living room. Terrified. Excited. Relieved it's finally happening. The confidentiality has been exhausting. Tell me about the competition. What can you share now that it's airing tonight? I walked her through the format. 3 finalists, live broadcast, 3 hours to create a multi-course meal for the judges. We would have access to an extensive pantry but wouldn't know the secret ingredient until the broadcast began. The judges would be Marcus Stone, 2 other celebrity chefs, and a surprise guest judge. What are you making? I won't know until I see the secret ingredient. But I've been practicing adaptability. My strength is taking unexpected ingredients and creating cohesive dishes that tell a story. Your menu tonight at the gala told a story. That's my style. Food should be more than sustenance. It should evoke emotion, create memory. My phone buzzed again. Another text from my father. Please, Sarah. Let me explain. Are you going to talk to him? Jasmine asked. Not today. Today is about the competition. I've worked too hard to let his drama distract me. By 6 o'clock, my apartment was filled with people. Jasmine had invited our core team, Marcus, our lead server Devin, our pastry chef Lynn. They brought wine and snacks, turning it into a viewing party. The energy was nervous and excited. At exactly 7 o'clock, Kitchen Masters began. The show opened with dramatic music and quick cuts of the 3 finalists. There I was on screen, in chef's whites, looking far more confident than I felt. The host introduced each finalist, highlighting our backgrounds. Sarah Chen, owner of Ember and Sage Catering in San Francisco. Culinary Institute of America graduate, former sous chef at 2 Michelin star Lumiere, and entrepreneur who built a $2 million catering company from a $15,000 investment. At 31, she's the youngest finalist in Kitchen Masters history. My team erupted in cheers. On screen, the host continued introducing my competitors, a restaurant executive chef from Chicago and a culinary director for a major hotel chain in New York. Both were older, with decades more experience. The secret ingredient was revealed, duck. We had 3 hours to create a 4-course tasting menu featuring duck in innovative ways. Watching myself on television was surreal. The cameras caught everything, my immediate strategizing, my confident movement through the pantry, my precise knife work. I explained my concept to the camera, a progression from light to rich, each course highlighting different aspects of duck and different cooking techniques. My first course was duck prosciutto with fig jam and arugula on crostini. Second course, duck consommé with ginger and scallions. Third course, duck breast with cherry gastrique and roasted root vegetables. Fourth course, duck fat chocolate mousse with candied orange. The 3 hours of competition were edited to about 40 minutes of television. The judges tasted each finalist's dishes, offering critiques. When they reached my plates, Marcus Stone's face lit up. This is exceptional, he said, tasting the duck breast. The technical execution is flawless, but more importantly, there's a narrative here. Each dish builds on the previous one. This is the work of someone who understands food not just as ingredients but as experience. The other judges agreed. My consommé was perfectly clarified. My mousse was adventurous and successful. My plating showed artistic sensibility. When all 3 finalists had been judged, the show cut to commercial. My apartment was electric with excitement. You're going to win, Devin said confidently. We don't know that. The other chefs were incredible. But when the show returned and the host asked for the judge's decision, Marcus Stone spoke first. This was exceptionally difficult. All 3 finalists demonstrated mastery. But one chef created something that transcended technique. One chef told a story, created an experience, and showed us the future of culinary arts. The winner of Kitchen Masters is Sarah Chen. My apartment erupted. My team was screaming, hugging me, jumping up and down. On screen, I was crying as the host handed me an oversized check for $250,000 and announced the Culinary Arts magazine feature. My phone started buzzing immediately. Texts, calls, social media notifications. The show's hashtag was already trending. Within minutes, the local news was reporting, San Francisco chef wins Kitchen Masters. Jasmine hugged me tightly. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected. This business, this success, it's all of us. Among the flood of notifications was a voicemail from my father. I didn't listen to it then. I would deal with that tomorrow. Tonight was for celebration, for my chosen family who had supported me, for the validation that came not from external approval but from knowing I had competed at the highest level and won. The next morning, I woke to a phone that had been buzzing nonstop. The Kitchen Masters win had exploded on social media. Food Network had reposted clips. Culinary publications were requesting interviews. My business email inbox had over 200 new messages. Jasmine arrived at 9 with coffee and the morning newspaper. My photo was on the front page of the lifestyle section. Local chef takes Kitchen Master's crown. Have you talked to your dad yet? She asked. No. But I have 7 voicemails from him. Are you going to call him back? Eventually. But first, I need to handle all this. I gestured at my laptop, which displayed the overflowing inbox. We spent the morning triaging. Media interview requests, catering investors interested in discussing expansion opportunities. The $250,000 prize money was significant, but the exposure was worth far more. Around noon, someone knocked on my door. Through the peephole, I saw my father standing in the hallway. "It's your dad," I called to Jasmine. "Do you want me to stay?" "Please." I opened the door. My father looked tired, like he hadn't slept. He held a copy of the morning newspaper. "Sarah, I've been trying to reach you. I've been busy." "What do you need, Dad? Can I come in?" "We need to talk." I stepped aside, letting him enter. He noticed Jasmine immediately. "I was hoping we could talk privately. Jasmine is my business partner. Anything you say to me, you can say in front of her." He looked uncomfortable but nodded. We sat in my living room, me and Jasmine on the couch, my father in the chair across from us. "I watched the show last night," he began. "You were incredible." "I had no idea you could." He stopped, searching for words. "I didn't understand the level of your skill. Because you never watched me cook. You never visited my commercial kitchen. You never asked about my training or my techniques or what I actually do beyond catering parties." "You're right. I was ignorant about your work. Willfully ignorant," I corrected. "I tried to tell you. Multiple times. You weren't interested." He absorbed this. "The show said you built a $2 million business from a $15,000 investment. Is that true?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me that?" "I did tell you that, Dad. Last year at Thanksgiving, I mentioned we'd hit $2 million in revenue. You said that's nice and changed the subject to talk about TechVista's quarterly earnings." His face flushed. "I don't remember that." "Of course you don't. Because you weren't listening. You never listen when I talk about my work because you've already decided it doesn't matter. The judges on the show, they said you were one of the best young chefs in the country. Marcus Stone said you represented the future of culinary arts. And that matters to you because Marcus Stone said it. Not because I said it. Not because I showed you through 6 years of building a successful business. But because someone you consider important validated it. That's not." He stopped, realizing he couldn't deny it. "Okay. Maybe that's true. But I'm trying to understand now." Jasmine spoke up for the first time. "Mr. Chen, can I ask you something? What would it have taken for you to respect Sarah's work before last night? What metric of success would have been enough?" He looked taken aback by the direct question. I don't know. That's the problem," I said quietly. "There was never going to be enough. Because you fundamentally don't value what I do. You don't see food service as legitimate. It doesn't matter that I have employees and revenue and industry recognition. It doesn't fit your definition of success, so it doesn't count." "I was wrong," he said, his voice strained. "I see that now. Watching you compete against those other chefs, seeing the judges' reactions, reading about your business in the newspaper, I was wrong about everything." "You were wrong before you saw any of that," I replied. "The business metrics were the same last week. My skills were the same last month. I was the same person 6 years ago when I started Ember and Sage. The only thing that changed was your perception, and only because other people told you I was valuable." He sat forward, elbows on his knees, looking defeated. "What do you want me to say, Sarah?" "I'm apologizing. I'm admitting I was wrong. What else can I do? I want you to understand why I can't just accept your apology and move on. You spent 6 years making me feel like I was failing. Like my life's work was a disappointment. Do you know how many times I questioned myself because you questioned me? How many times I wondered if I should give up and do what you wanted? But you didn't give up. No. But not because you supported me. Despite you actively undermining me. And now you want credit for being proud of me after the world told you to be proud? That's not how this works, Dad." We sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, he spoke again. "Your mother would have been proud of you. She would have understood what you built." The mention of my mother made my eyes burn with tears. "Don't use her to try to connect with me now. You didn't understand her either. She valued creativity and purpose, and you dismissed those things as impractical. Just like you dismissed me. I loved your mother. I know. But you never really understood what made her happy. Just like you never understood what makes me happy." He looked at the newspaper in his hands, at my photo on the front page. "The article says investors are reaching out. That you're considering expansion." "Yes. We might open a restaurant." Maybe a second catering location. The prize money gives us options. If you need business advice. No, I said firmly. I have business advisors. I have mentors in the food industry who understand my market. I don't need advice from someone who called my business a dinner party 3 weeks ago. That landed hard. He set down the newspaper, hands trembling slightly. I understand I've lost your trust. I understand I need to earn it back. Just tell me how. I don't know if you can, I said honestly. You've hurt me too deeply for too long. An apology isn't enough. Watching my show isn't enough. You need to fundamentally change how you see me and my work, and I don't know if you're capable of that. I want to try. Wanting to try isn't the same as actually trying. And honestly, Dad, I'm tired. I'm tired of hoping you'll finally see me. I'm tired of seeking validation from someone who can't give it. I built a good life. I have a business I'm proud of, a team that respects me, and a career that fulfills me. I don't need you to finally approve now that everyone else does. He looked stricken. Are you saying you don't want a relationship with me? I'm saying I need time to figure out what kind of relationship is possible. One where I don't spend every interaction hoping you'll finally be proud of me. One where your approval isn't contingent on external validation. I don't know if we can have that, but I can't keep doing what we've been doing. Jasmine touched my arm gently. Sarah, the interview with Food and Wine is in an hour. We should start preparing. I nodded, grateful for the out. I need you to leave, Dad. I have work to do. He stood slowly, looking older than I remembered. Can I call you? In a few days? I'll let you know. After he left, I sat on the couch feeling hollowed out. Jasmine handed me a glass of water. That was hard. Yeah. But necessary. I can't let him back in just because he's finally paying attention. He needs to actually change, not just feel guilty. Do you think he will? I honestly don't know. But that's not my responsibility anymore. My responsibility is to keep building what we've started, to keep creating food that matters, to keep running this business with integrity. Whether he ever understands that is up to him. My phone buzzed with yet another notification. The Food Network wanted to discuss developing a show around Ember and Sage. A major restaurant group was interested in licensing my recipes. The Culinary Arts magazine feature would run in next month's issue. I had won. Not just the competition, but the bigger battle, the one to build something meaningful on my own terms. Whether my father ever acknowledged it or not, I had succeeded. The week following the Kitchen Masters broadcast was a whirlwind. Media requests flooded in from national outlets. Good Morning America wanted me for a cooking segment. NPR wanted to interview me about women entrepreneurs in the food industry. Forbes was writing a profile on young business owners who had scaled successfully. Jasmine and I hired a publicist to manage the attention. Her name was Teresa, a sharp woman in her 50s who had worked with several celebrity chefs. You're having a moment, Teresa explained in our first meeting. Kitchen Masters winners always get attention, but your story has extra legs, young entrepreneur, impressive business growth, immigrant family dynamics. We need to be strategic about which opportunities you take. We declined most television appearances, focusing instead on food industry publications and business outlets. I agreed to the Forbes profile, a James Beard Foundation podcast, and a feature in Entrepreneur magazine. These aligned with how I wanted to be seen, as a serious business owner and culinary professional, not just a reality TV winner. The $250,000 prize money sat in my business account, waiting for a strategic decision. Jasmine and I spent hours discussing options. A second catering location would allow us to take more events. A small restaurant would give us a showcase space. Equipment upgrades would improve efficiency. What do you really want? Jasmine asked during one of our planning sessions. I want to open a restaurant. Something intimate, maybe 40 seats. A place where we can push creative boundaries without the constraints of catering to client preferences. Then let's make that happen. While we researched potential locations, the catering inquiries kept coming. The Kitchen Masters exposure had elevated our profile dramatically. Corporate clients wanted us for major events. Private clients were willing to pay premium rates. We were turning down work because we didn't have the capacity. We need to hire more staff, I told Jasmine. At least 5 more people, maybe 10. Can we handle that growth? We'll have to. The demand is there. My father called twice during that first week. I didn't answer. He left voicemails, awkward, stilted messages about being proud and wanting to talk. I wasn't ready. Monica called too, surprisingly. I answered out of curiosity. Sarah, I owe you an apology, she said without preamble. I was condescending about your business. I made assumptions based on ignorance. What you've built is genuinely impressive, and I was wrong to dismiss it. The apology caught me off guard. Thank you. I appreciate that. For what it's worth, your father is really struggling. He knows he hurt you. He's trying to understand where he went wrong. That's something he needs to work out himself. I can't fix it for him. I know. I just wanted you to know he's genuinely remorseful. After we hung up, I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted to forgive him, to rebuild the relationship. But another part remembered 6 years of dismissal, of being made to feel small, of having my accomplishments ignored until external validation forced him to pay attention. Jasmine found me staring out the window of our commercial kitchen, lost in thought. Still processing? Yeah. Monica called. Said my dad is struggling with guilt. Good. He should struggle. That's what happens when you spend years hurting someone and finally realize what you've done. You don't think I should talk to him? I think you should talk to him when you're ready, not when he's ready. He doesn't get to dictate the timeline of your forgiveness. She was right. I needed to focus on the business, on the opportunities in front of us, on building the restaurant I had always dreamed of. The Culinary Arts magazine reached out to schedule the photo shoot for my feature. They wanted to shoot at our commissary kitchen, showing me in my element with my team. The photographer spent an entire day capturing images, me expediting during a busy service, testing recipes with Marcus and Lynn, consulting with Jasmine over plans, teaching a technique to newer staff members. When the magazine sent me the proofs, I barely recognized myself. The photographer had captured something I hadn't seen before: confidence, authority, joy. I looked like someone who had built something significant and knew it. 2 weeks after the show aired, Patricia from my father's board called. Sarah, I want to formally book you for our company retreat. 3 days, 80 people, San Diego location. And I want to discuss something bigger. We're looking for someone to overhaul our entire corporate dining program. 5 buildings, 1,200 employees. Would you be interested in consulting on that? It was a massive opportunity, easily a 6-figure contract just for the consulting work. Send me the details. I'm definitely interested. That evening, I finally called my father back. He answered on the first ring. Sarah, thank you for calling. I'm ready to talk, but on my terms. Can you meet me at my commissary kitchen tomorrow morning? 9 o'clock. Of course. Whatever you need. Come alone. Not with Monica. Just you. Okay. I spent that evening thinking about what I wanted to say, what I needed from him, what kind of relationship might be possible going forward. 1 year after winning Kitchen Masters, I stood in my restaurant, Ember and Sage, watching the dinner service unfold. The space was everything I had envisioned: intimate seating for 45 guests, an open kitchen where diners could watch us work, warm lighting and natural wood, an atmosphere that felt both elegant and welcoming. We had opened 6 months ago to strong reviews. The Chronicle gave us 3 stars. A Michelin inspector had visited twice. Reservations were booked 8 weeks out. The catering company continued thriving too. We had moved to a larger commissary kitchen, expanded the team to 45 people, and hit $4 million in annual revenue. Jasmine now managed the catering operation while I split my time between the restaurant and special catering events. The Culinary Arts magazine feature had run with a cover line, Building the Future: How Sarah Chen Created a Food Empire. The spread showcased both businesses, interviewed team members, and profiled my journey from culinary school to kitchen masters to entrepreneur. Food Network had developed a show concept around Ember and Sage, a docuseries following the restaurant and catering company. We had filmed a pilot episode and were waiting to hear if it would be picked up for a full season. I had published a cookbook based on my Kitchen Masters win, featuring recipes and stories from my culinary journey. It sold well enough to land on the New York Times bestseller list for 3 weeks. More importantly, I had become a mentor to young culinary entrepreneurs. I spoke at my culinary school's commencement, served on the board of a food industry foundation, and regularly advised women starting their own food businesses. My personal life had evolved too. I was dating Alex, a talented sous chef from a Michelin-starred restaurant across the city. He understood the demands of professional cooking, the exhausting hours, the obsessive focus on perfection. We supported each other's ambitions without competition. I had bought a small house in Oakland with a yard big enough for an herb garden and vegetable patches. On rare days off, I tested recipes at home, always looking for the next innovation. at my commissary kitchen a year ago, he had committed to actually understanding my work. He visited the kitchen regularly, asking questions and listening to the answers. He attended my restaurant's opening, sitting quietly in a corner booth and watching the service without trying to insert himself. He finally read the food industry publications that profiled me, learning about my business model and management philosophy. He asked about challenges I faced, supply chain issues, staff retention, competition, with genuine curiosity rather than judgment. We had dinner together monthly now. Sometimes with Monica, sometimes just the two of us. The conversations were different, more balanced, more honest. He talked less and listened more. He had stopped offering unsolicited advice about joining TechVista or pursuing corporate careers. Last month, he had brought his entire executive team to Ember and Sage for a private dinner. Watching him proudly introduce me to his colleagues, my daughter, Chef Sarah Chen, owner of this restaurant and Ember and Sage Catering, felt significant. Not because I needed his pride, but because it reflected genuine understanding rather than obligation. He's really changed, Jasmine had observed after that dinner. He's trying. It's not perfect, but he's trying. The relationship would never be simple. Too much hurt couldn't be erased. But we were building something new, not based on his approval of my choices, but on mutual respect between two people who had finally learned to see each other clearly. Tonight's service was special, a James Beard Foundation dinner featuring emerging chefs. I was honored to host it at Ember and Sage, to showcase the talent coming up through the industry. My father sat at a table near the kitchen with Monica and two of his board members. Patricia was there too, having become a regular customer and strong advocate for my business. As I expedited orders, calling out dishes and quality checking plates before they went to tables, I caught my father watching. He was smiling, that particular smile that suggested pride mixed with wonder, as though he still couldn't quite believe this was his daughter's creation. After service, as guests lingered over dessert and coffee, he approached the pass. "Sarah, that was extraordinary. The creativity, the precision, the way your team works together. It's like watching an orchestra." "Thank you, Dad. I want to say something, and I need you to hear it fully." He paused, collecting his thoughts. "I was wrong about everything. Not just about your career, but about how I measured success. You've taught me that building something meaningful, something that brings joy and creates community and employs good people, that's what matters. I spent 30 years chasing revenue and market share, and I missed what your mother understood all along. She'd be so proud of you. And I'm proud too, not because you won a television show or got written up in magazines, but because you had a vision and you built it with integrity." My eyes burned with unexpected tears. That means a lot. You know what TechVista's revenue is this year? 70 million. You know how many of those $70 million will matter in 50 years? None of them. But this, he gestured around the restaurant, this will matter. The meals people remember, the celebrations you helped create, the young chefs you're mentoring. That's legacy. You understand that in a way I never did. It was the most my father had ever understood me. "I'm glad you finally see it," I said quietly. "But Dad, I didn't need kitchen masters or magazine features to prove that my work matters. It always mattered. The value was there before anyone recognized it." "I know. That's what I'm apologizing for, not seeing the value because I was looking at the wrong metrics." We stood there in the restaurant I had built, a space that represented everything I had worked for, everything I had proven despite his doubts. "We're okay," I said finally. "Not perfect, but okay." He nodded, emotion crossing his face. "That's more than I deserve." As he returned to his table, Jasmine appeared beside me. "Big moment?" "Yeah. He's finally getting it. Really getting it. How does that feel?" I thought about it honestly. Good. But also like something I don't need as much as I used to. His understanding is nice, but it's not what validates my work anymore. That validation comes from our customers, our team, the industry recognition, and most importantly, from knowing we've built something that matters. "That's growth," Jasmine said, squeezing my shoulder. Later that night, after the kitchen was cleaned and the last guests had departed, I stood alone in my restaurant. Through the window, I could see the city lights, the neighborhood I had become part of. My phone buzzed with a message from Teresa, my publicist. Food Network greenlit the show. 12 episodes, starts filming next month. I smiled. More opportunities, more exposure, more growth. But the real success wasn't the show or the money or the recognition. It was standing in this space I had created, leading a team I had built, doing work that brought me joy and purpose. My father had finally learned to measure success differently. But the more important lesson was that I had learned to stop measuring my success by his standards at all. The greatest lesson I learned wasn't about proving my father wrong or even about building a successful business. It was about understanding that your value exists independently of other people's ability to see it. For 6 years, I carried the weight of my father's disappointment, letting it color my own perception of my achievements. Even as I built revenue and expanded my team and earned industry recognition, part of me wondered if he was right. Maybe catering wasn't a real business. Maybe I should have chosen differently. Winning Kitchen Masters forced a reckoning, but not in the way people might assume. Yes, my father finally saw my work as valuable. But more importantly, I finally stopped needing him to. The television attention was validating, but it was also fleeting. What remained after the news cycle moved on was the quiet certainty that I had built something meaningful, something that mattered, regardless of external recognition. I learned that immigrant-parent dynamics are complex and often rooted in fear. My father's parents had worked brutal hours in restaurant kitchens so their children wouldn't have to. In his mind, my choice to work with food was a regression, a return to the struggles he had been raised to escape. Understanding his fear didn't excuse his dismissal, but it helped me contextualize it. His vision of success was shaped by survival and scarcity. He couldn't see that I was building something different, not fleeing hardship, but choosing purpose. The service industry carries a stigma that diminishes legitimate entrepreneurship. People who had never run a food business felt qualified to judge mine. They saw servers and cooks, not the complex operations involving supply chain management, staff coordination, client relations, food safety protocols, financial planning, and creative innovation. The assumption that anyone can cook obscures the reality that professional food service requires expertise, dedication, and business acumen equal to any corporate role. I also learned the difference between being self-made and being self-certain. My business was self-made, I built it from nearly nothing through hard work and vision. But my self-certainty took longer to develop. For years, I sought external validation to confirm what I already knew internally. The Kitchen Masters win didn't make me successful, I was already successful. It just forced others to acknowledge what had been true all along. Losing my mother when I was young meant losing my biggest advocate. She would have celebrated every milestone, understood every creative choice, supported every expansion. Her death left a void that I unconsciously tried to fill with my father's approval. But he couldn't fill that space, he couldn't be who she had been. Learning to accept that loss, to find support in chosen family like Jasmine and my team, was crucial to my healing. Forgiveness, I discovered, doesn't mean forgetting or pretending hurt didn't happen. When my father finally apologized, I didn't immediately embrace reconciliation. I needed time to process years of pain, to establish boundaries, to rebuild trust incrementally. Real forgiveness is gradual and conditional. It requires the person who caused harm to demonstrate sustained change, not just express remorse in a moment of guilt. The restaurant and catering industries taught me that success metrics are multidimensional. Profit matters, but so does purpose. Recognition is nice, but respect from peers and satisfaction from work well done matter more. My father measured success in revenue and titles. I measured it in meals that created memories, in staff members whose skills I developed, in clients whose important moments I helped celebrate. Both metrics have validity, but they reflect fundamentally different values about what makes life meaningful. Breaking generational patterns while honoring immigrant sacrifice is a delicate balance. I understood why my father valued financial security and corporate prestige. His parents' struggles earned him that perspective. But I also had to claim my own definition of success, one that honored my mother's values of creativity and purpose. I wasn't rejecting his sacrifices, I was building on them in a different direction. The final realization came gradually. I didn't need the television show or the prize money to be successful. Those things amplified existing success rather than creating it. The business I built, the team I developed, the reputation I earned, all of that existed before Kitchen Masters and would have continued existing without it. My father's recognition was nice, but unnecessary. I had already proven everything I needed to prove, to myself and to the people whose opinions actually mattered. What I do matters. The work of feeding people, creating experiences through food, building community around shared meals, this is valuable work. It doesn't matter that it's not corporate or traditional or what immigrant parents hoped their children would choose. It matters because it brings joy, creates connection, and makes life richer. That truth existed before anyone acknowledged it, and it will exist regardless of who acknowledges it in the future. That truth existed before anyone acknowledged it, and it will exist regardless of who acknowledges it in the future. Building something meaningful matters more than building something impressive to others. My father spent decades constructing an image of success that would prove to the world he had transcended his origins. I spent 6 years building a business that reflected my values, creating beautiful food, treating employees well, delivering experiences that made people's important moments memorable. His path wasn't wrong, but neither was mine. The mistake was believing only one definition of success could be valid. Service work, whether in restaurants, hospitality, caregiving, or any field that directly serves others, deserves dignity and respect. The hierarchies we create around prestigious versus ordinary work reveal our cultural prejudices more than any actual difference in value or difficulty. Running a catering company required every business skill my father used in tech, financial management, strategic planning, human resources, marketing, operations. The difference was that my product was experiences rather than software. That difference shouldn't diminish the legitimacy of the work. I also learned that sometimes the people who should love us most struggle to see us clearly. Their blindness doesn't diminish our light, it only challenges us to shine brighter, to believe in ourselves when others cannot, to build lives that reflect our values rather than inherited expectations. My father's inability to see my worth was his limitation, not my failure. Understanding that freed me from the exhausting cycle of trying to prove myself to someone who couldn't recognize proof when it was presented. The wine and food industry gave me a community of people who understood the value of craft, the satisfaction of mastery, the joy of creating sensory experiences that elevate ordinary moments. In that world, my work was never just catering. It was art, science, business, and service combined. Finding your professional community, people who speak your language and share your values, is as important as finding personal community. Finally, I learned that healing family relationships requires both parties to commit to genuine change. My father's initial apology wasn't enough because it was reactive, prompted by external validation rather than internal understanding. Real healing began when he took consistent action over time, visiting my kitchen, asking questions, reading about my industry, showing up without expecting immediate forgiveness. Reconciliation isn't a single conversation, it's a sustained practice of seeing each other differently and building new patterns of interaction. The greatest security comes not from others' approval but from knowing yourself deeply and building a life aligned with your authentic values. My father chased financial security his entire life, and achieved it. But security of identity, security of purpose, security of knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be, that's something external achievement can't provide. I found that security not through winning a television show, but through the quieter daily practice of doing work I believed in, supporting a team I valued, and creating food that mattered to me regardless of who was watching. Have you ever built something meaningful only to have a parent dismiss it because it didn't match their definition of success? What finally made you realize you didn't need their approval to know you'd chosen the right path? Share your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about building businesses and lives on your own terms, about the courage it takes to pursue your vision when those closest to you can't see it, and about finding success that fulfills you rather than impresses others. Remember, success isn't about impressing others with your choices, it's about building something that aligns with your values and makes you proud, whether or not anyone else understands it. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to pursue your vision even when those closest to you can't see it yet, the wisdom to know your worth doesn't depend on their recognition, and the peace that comes from building a life that honors your authentic self rather than someone else's expectations.